I got you.
Fortune, fame, mirror vein, gone insane, but the memory remains. Heavy rings on fingers wave, another star denies the grave. See the nowhere crowd, crowded nowhere cheers of honor, like twisted vines that grow, hide and swallow mansions whole, in the light of an already faded prima donna. Fortune, fame, mirror vein, gone insane. Fortune, fame, mirror vein, gone insane, but the memory remains.
All right, creatures of the night. Welcome to Talking Taker, episode 163 of our encyclopedic exploration, digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time, The Undertaker. My name is Alex Dorio. I want to thank you for joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking, and I am here. I am joined, as always, by my tag team partner, my wrestling buddy. He is the man they call T-Bar, Mr. Travis White. Travis, are you ready to talk about the end of an era tonight? Ready for Triple H to try to get some retribution?
Your punishment must be more severe. Sorry, I was going my vein. Since I'm T-Bar.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. Vince McMahon just followed Dark Knight Rises, ladies and gentlemen, and let the games begin. There we go.
Well, folks, you know we don't talk about the current era here. We are only talking Taker. We're talking about the Undertaker. So enough. We're going to take you away from the silliness and stupidity of modern day WWE, and we're going to take you back to a better time, to 2012, to a much anticipated. This is the finale, the end of an era of this 4-match series. For the greatest WrestleMania matches ever, The Undertaker's favorite 4 matches of his career. We're going to WrestleMania 28, Undertaker and Triple H inside Hell in a Cell.
You know what just dawned on me?
This
is kind of like the Dark Knight Rises of this era, because Triple H broke the bat. Triple H was like Bane, and he broke Taker there. And Taker had to take a year off to recoup and come back for one last hurrah. Well, he doesn't blow up in a nuclear bomb or anything like that, or take a trip to Italy with his girlfriend afterwards. Well, I don't know. Maybe he did. He may have taken the film Gold to Italy afterwards. I don't know. But anyway, just saying. Anyway, trying to bring Batman. It was Batman Day last week, so yeah, I was really excited today.
Check your Talking Taker bingo card, folks, if you have Travis talking about Batman on the show. Go ahead and hit the mark on it. It might not be the last time either.
Nope. Oh yeah, man, I'm excited to do this tonight. Get in here and discuss this one, the fourth, like you said, the fourth in the quadrilogy, tetralogy, whatever you want to call it. I prefer tetralogy because I really like Tetris, so it's a fun game.
That's one of the best. Yes. But that's it, man. WrestleMania 28, huge moment, huge matchup, so much to talk about here. The aftermath of the match as well. We'll talk about all the promos leading up to it, the War of Words with Triple H, Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels, of course, getting involved as well, and all. We're going to cover every single one of the pats on the shoulders that happened throughout this build-up, too. That's the biggest moment in the storyline. Yes, I actually loved it. Yeah. I don't think I noticed that back in 2012, but as we watched it. I
noticed all 3 of them. Yeah, I noticed maybe them
obviously
separately.
The first
I never put together. Yeah, it was. But yeah, like I said, we're going to get to a lot of talk here, as before we get to the action. So let's rewind the clock back to Raw, April 4th, 2011, the night after WrestleMania 27. Now, again, last week we discussed we were at WrestleMania 27. We went to Access, Hall of Fame, WrestleMania. We did not stick around and go to Raw that night. So I think there was a package you could do that, but it was
right.
a lot more, and I didn't have more time off work, and I don't think you guys did either. So we just called it a night after WrestleMania. Actually, I think we all went home on Monday. Yeah, we were already off for a day.
We
work,
did.
So we didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't stick around that night to take another day off work. So anyway, the Raw after, again, usually one of the best Raws of the year, one of the more exciting Raws, kind of kicking off the new year, setting it in motion. So Triple H actually opens the show. So again, we talked last week how there was so much promo and hype for that match. You would have thought it was the main event. That it actually opens up the show here, which is crazy. And he gets a standing ovation from Atlanta, man. It's really, really cool. And he's kind of limping out a little bit. He's moving a little bit less than his usual swagger, but he does, of course, it's Triple H. He's got to get the water spit in when he comes out. It doesn't matter how beaten and broken he was. Gots to get the water spit. So that could be a shirt. Gots to get the water spit. That'd be great. So
Hunter gonna spit, man.
Yeah. Oh, maybe not that.
Okay.
No, you're right. That would not be
Hunter
too bad,
must spit.
Hogan must pose. Hunter must spit. That's amazing. Well, he also looks like the Terminator when he comes out. He's got these ridiculous sunglasses inside, kind of covering up his boo-boos on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that has a boo-boo is the coal mine. You know, we mentioned that at WrestleMania, Taker and Triple H went through it. Well, the coal mine is back, but it's got construction tape all over. So I really do appreciate that. You know, little nuance there and little, I guess, attention to detail. I really do like that because they could have just brought it back and not said a word about it, but I kind of like that.
It was funny.
I wouldn't put it past them to bring it back and not mention it, that it got destroyed. So,
right.
But Triple H, he comes in, says that last night was, or he may be the most beat up he's ever been after a match. And last night he stood up against Taker in the streak. And he's never been a nervous or an emotional guy. But when the gong hit last night, he almost hyperventilated. He says, I've never been that nervous in my life. And then we get something that was left off of the build to WrestleMania, and that he actually admits that he has wrestled Taker before. He's like, well, heck, I even wrestled in WrestleMania.
Why couldn't you talk about that?
Yeah. Where the heck was that? We missed that. But yeah, finally he says it. And he says that Taker's streak has become everything to him, and he's, shown that he's willing to kill himself to defend it. And he says, let me make sure I get this quote right. He says that Triple H says he beat on him harder than he's beat on any man in his entire life, but he still kept coming.
Not the best phrasing there, Hunter. We'll just let that go.
Let that go. But he says that he and Taker left everything in the ring last night, both of them, but apparently it wasn't good enough. He says there's no man alive that's ever walked through his stuff like that, and no man alive has ever been hit like he hit him last night. And Triple H says you can call Taker whatever you want, call him the Phenom, whatever. He says, but what I saw last night leaving on that stretcher was a man that was willing to destroy himself to keep that streak intact. He says that, people are saying that that's it for Taker and he won't be back now. And he says that if that is the case, he wants to say thank you for allowing him to have his last match, basically. But here's the thing. He says,
and here's the thing, because I don't believe you won't be back. Not after what I felt last night. Not after that magic. You'll be back. And when you're back, I'll be waiting.
And that's it. So that's our, put the kind of the bookend to last week's episode, and then kind of getting us into the next year, basically.
Very interesting promo there from Triple H. I have a lot of questions about it. Interested in what you think. Like, do you think at this moment when he went out and did that promo night after WrestleMania, do you think they knew where they were going? Or do you think that came into play later on? Like, I mean, I know he leaves the door open, but do you think they had decided that's what we're shooting for WrestleMania next year?
I feel like, this is just me speculating, I feel like they had no idea the night before at Mania. But then once they saw what it was, and what they knew they could milk one more out of it. I feel like they changed plans throughout, like overnight, basically, and then that's why he said this. I feel like honestly, he would have mentioned Taker being taken on a car. I don't think he would have said this line at the end about when you're ready, I'll be waiting. But yeah, I do think that after Mania 27, I think that they were like, whoop. Check that up for next year. We're gonna, and again, we'll talk about it here. But he would be 20-0 if he wins at WrestleMania 28, and that's a good way to stop. It's a good stopping point. You don't want to end on 19. You want to end at 20. We know he did not. So, but what do you think?
Right. I think the 20-0 is a really good point to consider because I think as fans we were all thinking that could possibly be the stopping point for the Undertaker. 20-0. He's got to get to 20-0, right? He can't leave it just 19-0.
Right.
But I watching the Last Ride series, Undertaker, he talks about this in one of these episodes that he wasn't sure if he was going to come back. I mean, and that's part of why he goes into hibernation here and takes his PTO, that he's been storing up, and takes pretty much his longest break ever up to this point. He's going to take a full year off, essentially. And why he ends up changing his look as well, which we'll talk about. He mentions that in one of the episodes. He wasn't sure if he was going to come back, so he went ahead and changed his look up. And then he's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm going to come back for this match." So I think they did leave the door open, and that's why he makes this promo. But I don't think they knew for certain. But it is interesting because later on in the night they make another match for WrestleMania 28. They say Rock and Cena is going to main event a year from now, which the Atlanta crowd at Phillips Arena that night was not too happy to hear that because they're like, you just gave us Cena and Miz and you're going ahead and telling the people next year they're getting Rock coming back for the first time in 7 years. Thanks a lot, WWE.
Yep.
Shows you what you think of Atlanta.
Exactly.
But interesting that, two matches for the next year at WrestleMania are put into action. Yeah, 2 rematches. Well, Cena Rock's not a rematch.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But it is. Yeah,
might as well have been.
Right. It's cool that they put them in motion the night after WrestleMania. Yeah. But we're gonna skip ahead to January of 2012. Well, let's tell you kind of what happens in that huge gap that we're gonna take here from April to January. Nothing really Undertaker related, but on April 11th, one of our favorite wrestlers, a guy we thought we saw his last match ever, Edge, officially retires in a shocking moment on Monday Night Raw. Of course,
I cried.
It was very emotional, and as sad as I am that we didn't actually get to see his last match, I'm so happy to have him back. And I think it's really cool and special for him that he was able to have that comeback.
And you and I have both been fans of Edge. I mean, literally for me, since I saw him, since I saw those vignettes back in '98, I guess it was, with Vince Russo. I just fell in love with the character and the guy back then, and I just been a fan ever since. I really haven't ever given up on him, and that's why not a lot of guys you can say that about. Sometimes you kind of have ups and downs and whatnot, but he's been one of our we really liked him a lot for a long time. So
man, we've talked about it on the show, many Edge Undertaker episodes. You guys can go listen in the archives. We've also talked about the brand extension and how over the years it's basically become utterly meaningless, and it officially ends for this version of it back on August 29th of this summer of 2011. So wrestlers start appearing on all the different shows, although they are still labeled as SmackDown or Raw superstars, even though they can go to whatever show they want. So it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't matter.
And I think they start calling Raw Raw Super Show. It's like you can have SmackDown guys on Raw, but the Raw guys don't ever bleed over into SmackDown. It seems like not often.
Except when they need to.
A brand exactly, except for when they need to. That's a great way to put it. So.
But then the big story of 2011, as we all remember, it's the summer of Punk. Man, he just explodes. Yes. One of the Undertaker's former and future opponents. Absolutely sets the wrestling world on fire in 2011. The pipe bomb promo, winning the WWE Championship, kicking off his longest, or the 400 32 days, I think it is,
Well,
or 28.
He holds it for Money in the Bank to like SummerSlam or something. Then
Right.
he loses it again. Then he gets it back in November or something, right? And then he holds it for 434 days, I think, or something like that. Yeah,
Somewhere around there.
In astronomical at the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, longest reigning in modern history there.
Right.
And a couple of other things kind of spur out of that storyline and the whole Money in the Bank angle. And one is that John Laurinaitis becomes Johnny Ace. He becomes an on-screen character. You know, he was the head of talent relations in real life, and you know there were always all sorts of rumors about him and all his backstage antics online and stuff that we internet based their opinions on. And WWE kind of leans into that by making him this evil general manager character. And then Triple H also, he evolves into the corporate Triple H that he has been really on screen ever since then. You know, we knew about his roles backstage, his relationship with Stephanie McMahon, but summer of 2011 is the first time he really becomes the COO on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he still does wrestle from time to time. He wrestles Kevin Nash in a ladder match with a sledgehammer on top of the ring at TLC 2011. He wrestles CM Punk, but he's basically semi-retired at this point, and is more of the corporate guy. So no more denim tuxedo, Canadian tuxedo. He's going to be suit and tie, corporate authority figure Triple H. So you need to know all that going into this Raw. Go ahead.
Exactly. Oh, I was just going to say, just kind of putting a exclamation point on that. Summer Punk is one. I just love it. It got me so excited. The main event of Money in the Bank, still to this day, is one of my favorite matches of all time. I mean, hands down. Like, you just not the environment, the crowd, the realness. You literally didn't know if he was leaving or not. This is his last night. Love that stuff. Got my buddy I went to church with, Gene, back into wrestling because I watched that at his house, watched SummerSlam that year at his house, and then we're going to get to WrestleMania 28, watch that at his house. So I wanted to bring him up and how that kind of brought us together and brought me back into being able to have a friend to watch pay-per-views with live in Nashville, because I didn't get to watch them with you unless we drove to each other's area or whatever. But so that's kind of how I got reconnected with watching pay-per-views live at the time. So.
Yeah, dude, it relit the wrestling fire in me. You know, it never totally died out, but this was the most into wrestling I had been in a long time. Was the Summer of Punk, and it that kept that flame burning for a long, long time after that. And then the Shield angle, them coming in, kind of kept me really interested. But Summer of Punk was huge.
2011 ends, man, with three of our broskies, with the Punk's the champ, Daniel Bryan's the world champ, and then Zack Ryder's the U.S. champ. It was phenomenal. We loved all three of those guys. Still do. So.
Woo woo woo. We'll say here as we go to January 30th, 2012, and. Like you said, all that context here, or else this sentence would sound really weird, but the main event of this episode of Raw is John Laurinaitis getting a performance evaluation from the COO, Triple H. And none of that would make any sense if we just jumped over to that from the last episode of Raw. So Triple H, he does come out in his suit and tie, and he looks more like Evolution era Triple H than Terminator Triple H. And oh man, this segment goes on and on and on and on with Triple H and Johnny Ace going back and forth, and it's supposed to be the big comeuppance for all of John Laurinaitis' heel antics, and Triple H is just about to wish John Laurinaitis well in his future endeavors. Ha ha ha, wink wink.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden, for the first time since WrestleMania 27, with no warning, no vignettes, nothing, we hear the gong hit for the very first time. And the crowd goes nuts, stops Triple H in mid-sentence, and he drops the mic and just goes from smiling and laughing to serious face, instantaneously. Yep. It's so good from Triple H. Triple H gets all the crap in the world, but you got to praise him when he's good, because he's so good. And this was so good.
It was very good. He's, went to that Shawn Michaels school of acting, So
Indeed.
Yeah, it helped. Well, that dust fell off onto him, Well, sexy boy dust. So.
Well, something fell onto the Undertaker's head here as he comes out. The lights have gone purple, and Taker makes his return, and it's awesome, and it's great. But he's got his hat on, but underneath this hat is some sort of dead animal. It's horrendous, dude. This absurd wig.
This has got to be one of the worst wigs I've ever seen. It's so highlighted. Like his hair is they've got it coming around the side of his face, over his shoulders. He never even had that like that these last few years. Why not just tuck it back? I don't understand.
Nothing like his hair, dude. I see what they were trying to go for, but they should have just had the hood on his head at this moment, dude. This was and it was you could tell in 2012.
Yes.
I don't remember if photos had come out with his short hair. I feel like they did.
Probably. I can't remember, but yeah.
So I think we all kind of knew that his hair was already cut, but they're trying to pull those twin passes, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really take away from things, and they're actually going to play into that here in the storyline going forward. But
it's so bad. Dude.
It's rough.
I'm just picturing it, right? It's so bad.
We got to call it as we see it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
The crowd, however, they're chanting for Taker. John Laurinaitis has wisely exited the ring. And Taker ends up circling around Triple H as Triple H just stands firm in the middle of the ring. The music dies out, and obviously we're going to get a throwback to last year, to the way that this whole rivalry started last year. So they have this long stare down, and this time Undertaker's going to look up at the WrestleMania sign, and the crowd cheers, and he looks back down at Triple H, and he does the throat slash. So Undertaker's challenging Triple H in much the same way that Triple H challenged him last year. Triple H continues to stare at Undertaker as the crowd is just waiting to hear his response. Triple H looks down for a moment, and then instead of giving that crotch chop, he just looks up and gives Undertaker a couple of soft pats on the shoulder and puts his head back down and walks away from the ring. So the Undertaker, the audience,
the crowd's booing.
They're booing, they're confused. The Undertaker is confused, and he looks back up toward the WrestleMania sign like, "What did I do something wrong here? Like what just happened?"
He didn't point, I guess. That's how you get your matches, you point.
Yeah, that was the mistake Undertaker made. And his music plays as the show goes off with this weird thing happen. I hope the crowd there got like a dark match or something, because that's a super weird way to end the show. But this was so awesome, man. I just I give him all the applause for this segment. It's brilliant. It is the perfect nod to last year. It's the perfect reversal of that segment. Again, not a single word is spoken, and we're all just left wondering. Like, you have to tune in next week, because what just happened? Why did Triple H walk away? Has he gone soft? Has he gone corporate? Is he telling Undertaker with that tap on the shoulder, it's time to let it go, man. It's time to lay down. It's time to stay down. But either way, whatever is going on here, it's brilliant, because it's telling the fans, nope, not yet. We're not just going to give it to you yet. You gotta hang on the edge of your seat to see how we get there.
It's funny how that draws you back in the next week. Hey, what a novel idea. Leave the audience wanting more. Yeah. Maybe that pat on the shoulder was like, nice try, pal, with the hair.
I think that was it. You solved the mystery.
No, but no, seriously, like, you talk about that on this podcast a lot, like not giving the fans what they want yet, knowing what they want, wanting, getting them to say what they want, but then not giving it to them yet until later on. Like, that's how they built it. Last year's how we built it. This year is how we talked a lot about this on this podcast, and I really loved the start of this here. It really kickstarted it great. So that'll bring us to the next week, post-birthday Raw for you. So February 6, 2012. We get a recap of last week's confrontation, and then there's a voiceover saying that last week the Undertaker made his intentions clear, and it asks what's going through the mind of the cerebral assassin. So that's kind of our opening of the show here. Triple H actually opens the show again, and he says he wants to discuss the return of the Undertaker. And both guys here are going to get face chants and the babyface reaction, I guess you could say. So, when Taker came back, he says Taker came back last week after having not been seen since WrestleMania, and since he was carried from the ring for the first time in his career, which we mentioned on here. I think we have not seen him be carried away like that,
right.
In storylines. So Triple H says he was unable to leave on his own power, and Triple H says after almost 20 years in the business, he still gets a rush and butterflies in his stomach when he hears the gong and when he stands in the ring with the Undertaker. And he stands in the ring, and he's humbled to be in the ring with him. Well, last week, Taker made his return. They had a reversal from last year, and he pointed to the sign, and he says that his silence spoke volumes. He says Taker wants a rematch at WrestleMania, but Triple H says that he looked in the Undertaker's eyes, and for the first time, there were no butterflies, no rush. He wasn't in awe, and he wasn't humbled. He says he looked at Taker in the eyes, and he felt sorry and bad for the Undertaker. And the wig. I'm just kidding. He didn't say and the wig. But he said.
That's what he's thinking.
That's what he's thinking. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, he says, I felt bad for him. He says, I know what he did. I know what I did to Taker last year, and I'm going to choose to remember the Undertaker in a certain way. And then we cut to a video of Taker just kicking butt over the years, just him dominating people, and just basically a highlight of the Undertaker's career. And Triple H is basically saying, that's who I want to remember him as. So we come back from that video, and he literally says, that is the Undertaker. That is the Phenom. That is the dead man. And he says, I don't want to remember this. We cut to another video. That's the end of last year's WrestleMania. Taker struggling to get up after WrestleMania last year, him collapsing, being carted off on the medical cart, and we just get, that's the images that we're going to see here. And he doesn't want to remember this particular Undertaker. So he says
19-0, the most dominant force ever in the WWE. Dead man, for that reason, you challenged me to WrestleMania. Out of respect, with all my heart, I say no. I understand that it's probably not the most popular decision I've ever made. I get that. But I was in the ring with him. You weren't. You watched it. I saw it firsthand. I know what I did to him, and he just kept going. He would not let it lie. He could not. The dead man would not die. And I know if we do it again, what I have to do, I have to finish it. And he knows it too. And as I looked into his eyes Monday night, and I'm just thinking about it now, you know what? Maybe that's exactly what he wants. Maybe the Undertaker wants me to put an end to it.
He says that, okay, Triple H is going to go like Mother Goose here. And he says that he heard a saying when he was a kid. Not dead, that which can eternal lie, but with strange eons, even death may die. And he says that he
sounds like the Riddler.
It does sound like the Riddler, exactly. Riddle me. If he said riddle me this before that, it would have been fantastic. But not dead, that which can eternal lie, but with strange eons, even death may die. He says, I didn't understand that as a kid, but it means that everyone and everything has limits. And he says that I will not be the one to push Undertaker past his limit because I respect him too much. And he points to the WrestleMania sign and says, this is over. And then his music hits and he goes to leave. And after a few seconds, the lights go out. But before we get to that, I want you to tell us where that Triple H quote actually came from, if you will.
Well, I just decided to look it up because I'd never heard it before. And Triple H says he heard that as a kid.
Right.
The quote itself originated from a short story called The Nameless City by H.P. Lovecraft. But I guarantee you Triple H has never read that story because that quote is also used in a Metallica song called The Thing That Should Not Be. And that is where Triple H heard it, quote unquote, as a kid. Whatever Metallica album that's on,
Exactly.
So,
well, that's not the
Triple H.
Last time we're going to hear Metallica.
No, it is not.
But yeah, again, that's not a saying that people just throw around as a kid, like here, and that's got some strange words in it for children to be saying. But anyway, so yeah, like getting back to the storyline here, Triple H goes to leave, his music cuts off, and then lights go out, and then we see this video backstage, and we can see from behind Taker's like sitting in this little throne chair, and he's in this. I don't know if he's in his like Western warehouse building from last year on the 22111 videos, or if he's in some bunker somewhere. But he's basically watching the end of last year's WrestleMania match. He's almost got this shrine to the match, and all these like cutouts of magazine articles and internet articles about him, being carted off and all that stuff. But there's a voiceover saying this is not over, and we hear, Triple H's quotes from the night after WrestleMania last year about, saying that I will not let the image, or excuse me, and then Taker's voice says, I will not let that be the image of me that's remembered through the ages. My victory over you means nothing. Give me what is mine. Vengeance, and I will give you one more chance at immortality. This is not over. We cut back to the ring and see Triple H staring at the screen, and then we're going to go to commercial break. But it's kind of weird. Like Taker almost looks like serial killer-ish. He's like got this wall of like stuff. He's obviously become obsessed with his image of last year. The way he left, which is funny because in real life, as we learned in the last Ride documentary, he kind of did become, not necessarily from this match, but from the Roman Reigns match, in 2017. So it's kind of funny how this will actually imitate his real life later on. But anyway, I thought it was a neat touch. It was different. We haven't really seen an obsessed Undertaker like this since maybe Ministry days with Stephanie, But anyway,
and it explains why he's challenging someone he's already beaten twice at WrestleMania. That it feels like he feels like his victory's in question because he got the pin, but Triple H is the one who walked away from it. So he's got something to prove.
Yep, and I love that. I like that storyline there. So later on, we get a backstage interaction between Johnny Ace and Triple H about the board of directors and blah blah blah. Basically, Johnny Ace tells Triple H that the board says next week Shawn Michaels is going to be here to give the fans what they want. And so later on, Josh Matthews approaches Johnny Ace and he says, Triple H is refusing to face Undertaker. He's like, I'm not sure if perceived to be cowardly is, excuse me, Johnny Ace says, I'm not sure if somebody who's perceived to be cowardly is fit to be running Monday Night Raw. So kind of going back to their back and forth of who's running Monday Night Raw. But he says the word cowardly, which will come into play here in our storyline.
Indeed it does here as we keep going to February 13th, 2012, and the newly minted Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels comes out. He comes into the building, and Triple H greets him and hugs him and welcomes to the show. And Shawn Michaels comes out to the ring, gets a great ovation, and says he's a little nervous being there tonight. He's feeling a little rusty, and says someone on Twitter asked him recently, why do you always come around this time of year? And Shawn says, it's WrestleMania, bro. You can't have WrestleMania without Mr. WrestleMania. He says he was watching Raw the past few weeks and he was shocked when Triple H did not accept the challenge of The Undertaker. So he called up John Laurinaitis and said he needed to come to Monday Night Raw to talk to his friend Triple H. So I'm not sure why he couldn't have just cut out the middleman and saved on some travel and just called Triple H. But maybe Triple H wasn't answering the phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
That doesn't
busy
quite
with
make any
his corporate
sense.
life.
That's it. Shawn's like, I'm sure Triple H is just playing some mind games with The Undertaker, so I'm going to bring him out here right now, and he can give the world the answer they've been waiting for. So Triple H does come out. Shawn plays air guitar to his Motorhead music as he comes out, which is nice. Triple H looking a little bit aggravated as he's having to come out here. There's a sign in the crowd that you pointed out, Travis. You want to tell the world what that sign says?
It's a great sign. It says, "Where is La Parka?" That's a great question.
There's a dream opponent for The Undertaker we didn't talk about.
The chairman versus the American BA. That would have been amazing. Anyway, I just thought I'd get that in there. Anytime we can talk about La Parka, it's a good day for me.
Absolutely. Triple H and Shawn, they embrace, they throw up the DX hands, the crowd's loving it. Triple H says, it'd be nice to see you, Shawn, more than just around WrestleMania season, but Shawn asked Triple H to just go ahead and confirm this WrestleMania match with The Undertaker, this big rematch. And Hunter says, well, I do wish you would have called me before you came out here.
Yeah.
Because he is not going to face the Undertaker at WrestleMania this year. And Shawn is like, okay, look, I know you got to do all the Corbett stuff now, but come on, man. Triple H says, it's not the suit talking. He explains all the same stuff he said last week, that Undertaker, if they had to face again, he would have to end the Undertaker, and he doesn't want to be that guy anymore. And Shawn says, that's exactly who you are. That's what you do. You are a closer. You end careers. You have no compassion, no mercy. You step on people's throats. And Shawn says, look, I've been by your side even while things changed. Talking about the marriage to Stephanie and the family and all that sort of stuff. And he said, I've never left your side. But are you telling me now that when you married that chick that you became one of them? Are you just a corporate sellout now? Of course, the crowd is like, oh, and all this insider talk sort of stuff, work shoot kind of deal. And Triple H starts to get aggravated now. He says, look, I'm not being a sellout. This is me investing in the future, but I don't want to have this argument out here. And Shawn says, look, I may be a simple guy, but it's impossible for me to understand this deep philosophical business life. But I do know when a man challenges you and you back down, that makes you a coward. Again, the crowd's like, oh, you didn't just say that. Triple H tries to walk away again, but Shawn grabs him and turns him back around and says, I'm not finished yet. And Shawn says that it doesn't matter how nice you dress up, how much money you wrap around it. At the end of the day, a coward is still a coward. He calls him a coward again, and Triple H finally turns around and says, Shawn can't understand. He's retired. He's on his ranch with his kids, but Triple H has real life responsibilities. And he says, whether anybody likes it or not, one day all of this, and Triple H points to the ring and the arena, says all of this is going to be mine. And that responsibility weighs on my shoulders. And Shawn may look at Undertaker as an opponent, but I look at him as a brand. And killing that brand is not good for business, not best for business. Which is probably the first time, maybe he used it before this with the CM Punk stuff, but this is the first time we're really hearing that expression that Triple H and Stephanie would use all the time from ever since then.
Yep.
And then Triple H says one of the other things that we're going to hear over and over again. He says, You,
me, Undertaker-Shawn, we are the end of an era. You know it and I know it. The end of an era of a different breed. Smash mouth style that doesn't exist. We left it all in this ring every night. You, me, him, we'd all pay the ultimate sacrifice in this ring if we had to, without question. Shawn, I am not going to be the one to end that era. You're retired. I've got other things going on now. The Undertaker is all that's left. And I'll be damned if I'm going to be the one to end that era for no reason. Not because they want me to. I'm not going to do it because he wants me to end it. I'm not going to do it to feed my own ego. I sure as hell am not going to do it to feed your ego because you want to live vicariously through me to get done the things that you couldn't get done.
Ooh. They're cutting deep tonight, man.
Yeah.
Shawn's like, great speech, fine speech. And I'm sure it works on a lot of people. And I like all the consistent jabs at me that you always have to get in there, Triple H. But I'm at peace in my life, and you have no peace. So he tells Triple H to look him in the eye and tell me you don't want to end the streak. Tell me you don't need it. And Triple H tries to leave again. Shawn turns him around again. Triple H straightens his tie and tries to walk away again. And he rips his jacket off and he stares back at Shawn. He raises the mic up to his face and looks Shawn in the eye and says, "No," saying, "I don't need it." And Shawn backs away from Triple H, Shawn kind of backs down and he walks away from Triple H and bumps him in the shoulder as he walks out of the ring, acting like he doesn't even know this guy anymore. And then Shawn walks up the aisle, turns around, and just shakes his head at Triple H. And then, as Triple H starts to leave, once again we hear the gong, lights go out, and we go to the serial killer shack of The Undertaker, watching that WrestleMania footage on the loop over and over again, looking at the wall of pictures and news articles he's printed out. And this time, Undertaker stands up from his chair and walks over to a table and grabs a razor blade.
Oh, no, don't do it.
No, yeah. I'm thinking the worst, man. It's not worth it, Taker. But he actually goes up to his head and starts chopping the quote-unquote hair on his head off with the razor blade, which is not normal. It's weird. No. I don't understand the logic there, but that's what he's doing, man. That's how he's taking out his frustration.
Yeah, I don't get it, but I guess it's what crazy people do. They'll cut their hair and stuff like that when they don't get what they want. So I don't know, but yeah.
I guess it's kind of like a biblical thing, too. They used to shave their head when they were mourning or upset over something. Yeah. Lamenting things.
Yeah, and, after that, Triple H is... You can see him kind of like, what's going on here? I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to entice him to, get in the ring. Oh, sucker's going to cut his hair. I'll get in the ring with you.
Yep.
It was like Samson from Bob. He's cut his hair. He's lost all his power. So who knows?
Maybe.
Anyway, that'll take us to the next week, February 20th, 2012. Another vignette with Taker walking toward his throne and the video wall in the shrine. And there's a voiceover with Taker screaming, "Vengeance, vengeance! Every story has an ending. Vengeance, vengeance! Your denials are unacceptable. Triple H, your fate is sealed. Every story has an ending. I will write yours tonight." And we see again the hair being cut and all that. So we see highlights from Triple H and HBK last week, and then we see Taker's cloak and boots walking backstage, and he's headed out next after the break. So the gong hits, his music hits, and Taker does return to Monday Night Raw for the first time since, I guess, before WrestleMania probably about 11 months almost. So
first time in 3 weeks.
Excuse me. Duh. What an idiot. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know what I'm thinking here. Yeah, he did come out 3 weeks ago. I'm trying to block it out because of the wig. But anyway, first time in 3 weeks here. Comes out. Got his sleeveless hooded cloak on here. And you can tell something's up with his hair, though, because we don't see that wig at this point. It's tucked back or not even on there. So, but it's a cool 20-0 sign, and the crowd really liked that. So Taker gets in the ring, and he paces, and he says, for nearly a year, I've lived with the memory of the beating that I took from Triple H last year. And he says, it's been a living hell. He says, it's been a living hell, not a physical hell because the wounds have all healed. It's been a hell of uncertainty, an uncertainty that I can no longer bear. He says, I came back 3 weeks ago to try to end an uncertainty forever, but never in my wildest nightmares did I expect the answer that I got. Undertaker says Triple H missed the point. The choice was not his to make. This has to come to an end. We're on the verge of apocalypse, the apocalypse of an era of wrestling. Undertaker says they are the last of their kind. So the suit, the tie, all the corporate liabilities and responsibilities, they're just layers covering up who Triple H really is. Undertaker says,
this is something that you cannot lie to yourself about. You can lie to Shawn about, but you will not lie to me. You will come out here and you will look me in the eyes. This thing, Triple H, is far bigger than you and I. It is And I repeat, the apocalypse.
And my only problem with this whole promo is that the fans are starting to do the what chant in the middle of it. And I was like, come on, man. Don't do that to Taker.
Right. But I will say, we were kind of talking about it before we went on. Man, these are some long segments. Every single one that we're talking about tonight goes on for a long time of talking. Plus during this time, plus you got Taker's entrance. Plus during this time on these same episodes of Raw, we've got John Cena and The Rock both eating up long segments of time. It's just the crowd's getting restless, man. And these are great guys, and these segments are awesome. They're some of the best acting and promos we've ever seen, but they're very long.
They are.
They're very long.
Well, like I said, Triple H music hits, and he comes out in his suit, and as he starts to talk, he gets in the ring and begins to talk, and Taker just goes, "Shut up!" And I love that. He yells at him. He says, "You can save your pity, because what is pitiful are the excuses that you keep coming up with not to do this." He says, "We're the last two of our kind." Or excuse me, Triple H says, "Yeah, we are indeed the last two of our kind, but we're not here to end it." He said, "I want to make sure that this gets carried on. I'm here to make sure that WWE carries on, and that the Undertaker, you're here to be a leader for the next generation." He says, "I will not be the one to extinguish the flame. It's bad for business." And then Taker says, "Hey, businessman, make this clear for me, because it's been bothering me. Is it bad for business that I'll be gone, or is it bad for business that you'll be gone?" And Triple H says, "It's just plain bad for business, dead man." He said, "I get it, okay? While you've spent the past year living on supposed uncertainty, I've never been more certain about anything in my life. And if you look inside yourself, you're really certain of it too. You're not asking me for redemption. You're not asking me for salvation. You're not asking me for vengeance. You're asking me for an end. I know what I have to do to beat you. I have to finish you. Deep down inside, that's really what you want, isn't it? You want me to put an end to it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be the one that finishes it." So really, really cool twist there. I like that. I mean, he's saying, you just want to die. You want to go out, but you don't want to relinquish it on your own. You want somebody to do it for you. So kind of like that there.
Oh, yeah.
And, Taker comes back and says, you can put whatever spin on it that you want, but at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, all you see is a coward. And Triple H storms back in the ring, and he gets real angry. He's like, "I'm sick to death of this coward thing," which is, Johnny Ace has called him that, Shawn's called him that, and Taker's called him that. So, two of those have every right to call him that. But Johnny Ace, come on, man, that should have been the final straw right there. But he says, "I'm sick to death of this coward thing." He said, "You want a coward?" And he kind of calms down and gathers his wits, and he's like, cracks a little smile at Taker. He says, "I see what you're trying to do. It's not going to work on me. The answer is still no." And he walks away as Undertaker's left in the ring. And then we see a really, really cool camera shot as the Undertaker's in the ring with his back to the video screen. And on the screen, you can see Triple H standing there, like almost about to head to the back. And kind of got his head down.
Taker's shoulder.
Exactly.
It's really cool.
Really cool, just cinematography there. I just really love it. We've talked about that last week with some of that stuff too. So really, really cool thing. And then Undertaker comes out. He says, "I just figured it out. You know that you can't do what your buddy Shawn Michaels could do, because Shawn was always better than you." And the crowd's like, and they're just like, he said it, like we all thought that, but he said it, And so they start chanting for Shawn, and Triple H is just livid, and he takes off his suit jacket, takes off his tie, so takes off those layers that are covering up the corporate Triple H, and unbuttons his shirt, storms back into the ring, stares at Undertaker for, a minute. Finally, he says, "You think it's got anything to do with Shawn and who's better?" He says, "It's got nothing to do with it. Shawn couldn't get the job done, and you know very well that I can." He says, "I can do what Shawn couldn't do. I can finish it. I know it, and you know it." And the crowd's chanting, "Prove it, prove it, prove it," which I love that, man. Because, again, they're getting a little restless. It's a long segment. And Triple H says, if Taker thinks he's a suit and tie can cover the layers of him, well, now they're gone.
"I'm standing before you, and I'm looking you in the eye, and I am more certain than I have ever been before. You want this? You want WrestleMania? You want it all to come to a head? You want an end? You got it."
And the crowd goes nuts. They're excited. And then he goes to leave. He comes back and says, no, wait. If we do this, we go all the way. No return, no uncertainty, no excuses. The streak ends, the era ends, and you're at your end. If we do this, we go all the way. I will face you at WrestleMania under one condition. Hell in a Cell. And the crowd just erupts because getting to see these guys go at Hell in a Cell is going to be awesome. So going nuts. And then Taker kind of pays the favor back, and he just kind of looks at Triple H, pats him on the shoulder, and walks out of the ring.
He got him, man.
He got him, yep. He's like, suckered you in. It's great. So he just give him that little pat, like, got you. And The Memory Remains by Metallica starts blaring through the loudspeakers. So I have no idea where that came from, but they were just
very random. Yeah.
Yeah. So Taker looks over his shoulder back at Triple H, and we see another similar shot from last year where Triple H is in the ring. It's almost a symmetrical shot to last year. It's really, really cool. So it was amazing. Not much else to say about it, but it was phenomenal. And like you said, Taker got him. He suckered him in, and he got him to give him what he wants.
It's a very long segment, but it's very good. I mean, these guys, they're awesome when they don't say a word, but when they say a lot of words, it's awesome too, and they nail it. So many layers to this, playing off years and years of history and legacy here. I feel like Undertaker, especially when Triple H comes out there, he's more Mark Calloway or more, Biker Taker here. Even though he's in the Undertaker garb, he's not talking the way that the dead man Undertaker talks, and this is more of Mark Calloway shining through there. So playing into real life, playing into the storyline, and then Metallica over all of it, man, just gives it another layer. But it's cool. So the next week on February 27th, Undertaker and Triple H are going to take the week off, man, after that shocking announcement. But we do get a video package about this match, similar to some stuff they did last year. A lot of it's all current guys like Big Show, Miz, Edge, Randy Orton, Stone Cold, John Cena, and The Rock, and then also Pat Patterson as well, giving some thoughts on the big announcement in this end of an era match. So it adds to things a little bit.
There's the pat on the shoulder of Patterson. So.
You got to have him in there. The Pat plays into everything. He should have been special guest referee, dude.
Big part of the storyline is the Pat. So yeah.
Well, the next week is March 5th, 2012, and here we're going to see Shawn Michaels stick his nose into things again. He says a few weeks ago he came out here and he may have stirred up a little bit of trouble. And he's going to call out Triple H tonight and says, I want to hear straight from Triple H what made him change his mind about facing The Undertaker. And again, I thought, Shawn, this could have been addressed not on national television in a private phone call, but that's not Shawn Michaels' way. He's got
a simple man.
No way, dude.
Settles his business in front of 2 million people.
That's him, man. He's got a huge ego. He's got to stroke that ego here. Triple H comes out. And Shawn gives Triple H a new nickname, dude. He says, You're the Oak. It says, I threw everything at you a few weeks ago, but you didn't waver. And I did everything I could to try and talk you into the match with The Undertaker, but you would not budge. Shawn called him a coward, and he doesn't know anyone that would call Triple H a coward and get away with it. But he did it, and Triple H didn't do anything. Shawn says, that's amazing. And that's why you're the Oak. That nickname did not quite get over after this night, but Shawn keeps trying to
It's all about the Oak, and I didn't shake it.
I am the Oak. But something made the Oak change his mind, and Shawn asked Triple H what it was that pushed him over the edge. And Triple H starts to answer him, and Shawn cuts him off. And he says, look, I don't want to hear you say it. I want to see it. And he asked the video package to pull up the footage so we can share the moment that Triple H broke down. So we see part of that promo from a couple weeks ago. And Shawn is just...
Shawn wasn't watching Raw that week.
No, and he doesn't have a phone, doesn't have a cell phone, doesn't have Triple H's number. But Shawn is just staring at Triple H as that video goes off. And Triple H tries to respond to Shawn, but Shawn cuts him off again and says, so that's all it took. The worst thing that anyone could say to you is that I'm better than you. Triple H says, no, I didn't have anything to do with that. I know you didn't see this live, Shawn. Shawn was not watching Raw. But Triple H says, I know you got my voicemail, but this has nothing to do with you or who's better than you. I guess Shawn doesn't have his voicemail set up. He doesn't know how to check it, probably. There's like 99 voicemails on his iPhone.
Yeah.
Triple H says he's tired of listening to people like The Undertaker talk behind Shawn's back, saying that Shawn couldn't get the job done. He's tired of people saying Shawn is a failure, and that on the way out, Shawn couldn't do it because Shawn wasn't as good as he thought he was. Triple H says, that eats me up all the time because you're my best friend, and I believe you're the greatest in-ring performer of all time. And it pains me beyond measure to look at you as a loser. And that's why I'm going to finish it with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And he's going to do what everyone says Shawn couldn't do. And he's going to do it just as much for himself as his old buddy Shawn Michaels. And Shawn says, well, thanks for that. Here I was thinking we have a problem. But obviously not. Because always Triple H has everything under control. Silly old me. Shawn is just great here as usual.
Oh, yeah.
Shawn says it hurt him more than Triple H could have imagined, telling Triple H that he couldn't get the job done. But Triple H went out, where he's talking about last year at WrestleMania. Yeah. But Triple H did go out there and absolutely dominate The Undertaker. But he still lost, and Shawn was right. Shawn says, this year, I know who's going to win too, and I'll be right again. And he starts to walk away. And then he turns around and says,
I'm sorry, the reason I know that is because I've been made the special referee.
And that was unexpected, man, as he adds that nice little twist here to this match as it all comes full circle. 4 years of this storyline playing out. And another thing that comes full circle is that Shawn Michaels, as he leaves after giving the announcement, he gives Triple H a little pat on the shoulder and walks away as Triple H looks on.
Yeah, man, what a twist, you know? I really like that.
I love it.
Really cool. Good stuff. And but yeah, it could have been settled in a phone call. Could have just said, hey, bud, I just want to let you know I'm the special ref for this match.
That's not Shawn's
Wouldn't
way.
have been quite as dramatic, you know?
No.
So now we know we're getting those two, Hell in a Cell, and we're getting Shawn as a special ref. So next week on Raw, March 12th, after we see Machine Gun Kelly in the audience, which I haven't heard that guy's name in like 5 years. What happened to him?
He's still around, brother.
Is he? Okay, well,
Oh, yeah.
I'm also out of touch with everything. So, but
That doesn't mean
Shawn
he's good, but he is still around.
Is he? Okay. Well, Shawn Michaels comes to the ring, and Michael Cole tells us, according to an article on WWE.com, that it has the details of Shawn's history as a special guest ref in matches. Which he says whenever Shawn Michaels referees one of Triple H's matches, he always wins. So, add a little
Fun
bit
facts
to that.
for you, yeah.
Yeah. That's a fact. So, anyway, Shawn comes out and says, in 3 weeks, it will be the end of an era as I'm your special guest ref. He says, I think Triple H wasn't aware of the fact I was going to announce myself as special ref, but I also got some news that I wasn't aware of either. And he shows footage of them talking last week, and he says that, the word on the street, if that's the word on the street that I'm a loser or a failure, and no one's told me that backstage, but there has been one person absent in the last few weeks, but he is here tonight. So he calls out Undertaker, wants to know if Taker's been calling him a loser. So the gong hits, Taker comes out, makes his entrance, and he kind of circles Shawn in the ring, and they stand in there together. And Shawn says, we've shared a locker room for over 20 years, and we got the utmost respect for each other. The last few years of my career, we did something that will stand the test of time. And he says, I always thought Taker would have the guts to say these things to my face rather than behind my back. And then Taker's like, well, what do you want me to say? That you're a failure or a loser or you couldn't get the job done? And Taker's like, maybe it's not me saying that. Maybe it's Triple H putting words in my mouth. And he says Shawn needs to let all of his insecurities, before he can even get the rest of his sentence out, Shawn interrupts and is like, you're the one with all the insecurities. He says, you begged for this match. You've humbled yourself and begged for this match, basically, it is different for Undertaker's character to go to these links, and ask for a match like this. He doesn't usually have to do this. He usually is the other way around. So I like that.
Oh, yeah.
A little change in character and the change in storytelling. So Shawn says that, you're 19-0 at WrestleMania, but you're still in search of validation because Triple H beat you within an inch of your life last year. And that's why I told Triple H I know who's going to win this year. And then Taker says, you should know that whatever happens at WrestleMania, I'll be prepared to accept the outcome. What I'm not prepared to accept is you sticking your ego into this. He says the last 3 WrestleMania matches have all been destiny. And at WrestleMania, that destiny will come to an end. No matter what happens, the outcome has to be pure. And if the outcome isn't pure, there's going to be hell to pay.
I promise you, there will be hell to pay. You know something? You call all this destiny. I look at it as irony. Isn't it ironic that the guy whose career you ended can quite possibly be the guy who counts your shoulders to the mat? Isn't it ironic that I'm the guy who could possibly turn you into a loser, turn you into a failure, and show you couldn't get it done? Isn't it ironic that I could still be the guy to possibly end the streak?
And so again, I just love the symmetry of, like, as far as the poetry of it. Almost it's great. And he says, you could still be the guy to, or he says it's funny because I could still be the guy to end the streak, by counting the pinfall, which is kind of cool there. So Shawn goes to leave, and Taker grabs him by the arm, and Taker says, I will win at WrestleMania, I will extend the streak, and I will end an era. But if you don't do the right thing, I will end you. And Shawn kind of backs up, and he looks like he's going to super kick, Taker here, and then kind of just eyes him, slowly walks up to him, and pats Taker on the shoulder before he leaves. So again, really getting those pats in here. So yeah, it's pretty good here. But then he goes to walk up the ramp, and as he does, Triple H passes him as he walks out. They kind of glance at each other, don't really share any words. They glance at each other, and then Shawn leaves, and Triple H from the ramp smirks at Taker and does the crotch chop before he leaves. So Taker is kind of grimacing in the ring, just looking kind of angrily at him, and as we cut to commercial break, and that's it for this week.
I love the pat on the shoulder stuff, man. Each guy kind of signifying they won the mind game that week. They got the other person to say exactly what they wanted them to say. Got them right in their vulnerable spot, and they're confident going out there, man. It's really subtle and really cool. As this is our go-home show. It's actually 2 weeks before WrestleMania on March 19th, 2012. But they, Undertaker and Triple H are going to take the week off, man. Got to train for that Hell in a Cell match the week before WrestleMania, I guess.
Finished getting your hair cut.
So one really cool thing on this episode of Raw, we actually get some house show footage. Pretty rare, but it's a Madison Square Garden house show the night before this episode of Raw. And Triple H getting a tune-up match before WrestleMania, I guess, here. And he, listen to this match, man. This is probably the only time this lineup ever happened. You got Triple H teaming with CM Punk and Randy Orton as your babyface team here against Chris Jericho, the IC champion Cody Rhodes, and Dolph Ziggler. Man, would love to see that match on the network sometime. That's pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And Triple H gets the pin here, but instead of going for the pedigree, Triple H actually changes his mind and nails a tombstone, just like we saw him do to Undertaker last year on Dolph Ziggler. Even does that classic pin with the arms folded and the tongue out to mock the Undertaker. And I love that they showed that on Raw, too.
Yeah, me too. That was a nice little touch, man. Really cool.
Just to add to it here. So this last segment, these guys are actually going to finally be in the main event after weeks and weeks. And Shawn Michaels comes out for this main event segment and says, everyone's talking about the end of the era match. Everyone's talking about Shawn as the special guest referee. And he's made a career out of stealing the show. This year's going to be no different. And repeats that line from last week. That's where he says, it's pretty cool knowing I hold the end of an era in the palm of my hand. And he tells Undertaker that the words "end of an era" is just code for end of the streak. He starts to say another sentence, but he gets cut off by the gong, and the Undertaker comes out to the ring. And Shawn starts to speak, but Undertaker cuts him off again and says, "You did enough talking last week, and tonight it would be in your best interest to shut up and listen." He tells Shawn that this match has to remain pure. And he starts to say something about Shawn and his buddy, and he gets cut off. "Time to play the game." And Triple H comes out, and you know Triple H is taking this serious now because the suit and tie are gone, and the Canadian tuxedo is back this time.
The yoke.
It's not corporate Triple H. He doesn't have the denim jacket, sadly. He just has this ugly heavy metal concert t-shirt on tonight.
Certainly.
Something in Latin on there. But he does the water spit, and he stares off with Shawn and Taker, and he's back to the game. Triple H right here. He grabs a mic and tells Undertaker he needs to stop worrying about Shawn, because as much as Shawn's ego wants things to be about him, it is not. It's about him and Taker. It's always been about the two of them. It's their destiny to meet in this match. Two parallel careers connected by one thing, the most demonic structure in WWE history, Hell in a Cell. Triple H tells the great stat that there have been 24 Hell in a Cell matches since the beginning, and the two of them have been in 19 of them, which is amazing.
Yeah. That's
Triple H,
crazy.
It is
Up to
crazy.
this point, only 5 that haven't been in. That's nuts, man.
Triple H says that's no coincidence either.
It's not a coincidence that the match that started out as the Devil's Playground became my proving ground. It's where I learned that if it didn't kill me, it made me stronger. It's where I learned how to push the limits of human endurance. It's where I learned what it takes to end another man's career. It's where I thrive. It's where I excel. All those matches, all of them, everything I've been through, have been for one moment. April 1st, WrestleMania, Hell in a Cell.
The whole world will see the end of an era, yours. And Triple H says, don't worry, I know exactly what it will take to finish the job. Undertaker responds, do you? Are you sure? Your mind, your body, your soul, your career, your wife, your kids, all of this, even your life, are you willing to put it all on the line? Triple H says, if it means giving Taker the end he deserves, then yes, I am ready, and I will. So they stand nose to nose. Shawn kind of moves up to Triple H's side as Undertaker starts to leave. And then Taker turns back around and says,
You remember when I said Shawn is better than you? He is.
Shawn smiles and kind of laughs a little bit. Triple H just seethes in anger, and Undertaker walks away. So Triple H and Shawn then have sort of an uncomfortable stare down in the ring as the Undertaker heads to the back, getting the upper hand in the final war of words and planting another seed of doubt in Triple H's mind. Perfect ending, perfect build up, man. This is, like I said, it's long to sit through some of this stuff, but quite frankly, it is some of the best stuff we've ever covered because of the history of all these guys. It's fantastic because, again, no punches are thrown, no matches are held, no tag team matches, no, they're not facing each other any other time. Nope, none of that. It's playing into reality. It's playing into history. You couldn't ask for anything more.
Yep, it was great, man. Fantastic. And then just real quickly before we get to Mania, the next week of Raw, the go-home show, we don't see anything like you just mentioned, like the last week was everything, but we do hear The Memory Remains by Metallica, and then Michael Cole throws to a hype video, which I think is one that actually doesn't even play at WrestleMania because we don't even get a hype video at WrestleMania or as far as right before the match. But anyway, just got kind of their careers going back and forth, and we got some voiceover from Taker's promo and the other week, and then just kind of the whole build up. It's a really, really good package, and again, with The Memory Remains kicks in and it takes over the rest of the video. It's just really, really neat. It's got highlights of Shawn Michaels, and I can't recommend this video package enough. Again, they do such a great story, but having that Metallica song with it just kick in at the right moment just really puts it over the top. And on SmackDown that week too, March 30th, there's another one of those from Access, and we get some highlights from Taker's Graveyard like we talked about last week, and then that same video package from Monday. So that's really it. So like you said, a lot of talking. Now we're going to get to the action.
A little less talk, a lot more action right
Exactly.
here. WrestleMania 28, April 1st, 2012, Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. Welcome to Miami. That should have been
Bienvenidos a Miami.
How was that not the theme song for this WrestleMania?
Oh, no, man.
Instead, we got Flo Rida. I'll take Will Smith over Flo Rida any day of the week, baby.
Absolutely.
But, man, this could have been known as WrestleMania false advertising because not only is this not really the end of an era, it's also not once in a lifetime for The Rock and John Cena as they end up facing the next year at WrestleMania. But, what are you going to do? Still a very fun WrestleMania. Awesome setup in the stadium here in Miami. I believe this was the first time I hosted WrestleMania at my townhouse. I'd had it at my parents' house and had it at your apartment in Augusta before, but this is the first time I hosted at my house. And I know we had a 6-foot Baldino sub. We had 100 chicken wings from the Chinese restaurant, Cheerwine, Little Caesars Pizza, all that good stuff. And you said you watched it with your buddy Gene?
Yeah, man. I was at Gene's house, and actually our friend Chuck that we talked about last week, he drove down he was living in Louisville at the time, Kentucky. He hadn't moved to Lexington yet, but he moved to Louisville in the meantime, and he came down to watch it with me, and he was actually late to wrestle. He'd spent the night with me the night before. We went to eat and all this stuff, hung out, but he met a little lady in downtown Nashville, and she made him
that
watch
weekend?
WrestleMania. That was the girl he sat on the dock with, and anyway, he was late to WrestleMania. He came though, but he missed the opening match for sure. But yeah, it's I'm not gonna get into his story, but yeah, poor old Chuck.
Sitting
he was
on
late.
the dock of the bay,
Exactly.
missing the first match of the night.
Exactly. He missed probably more than that, but he did make it for this. I know, but I remember being completely shocked at the opening match. I love it in hindsight because of what it led to, but I really hated it at the time. Daniel Bryan losing in 18 seconds. Tell us about
I jumped off the couch and turned the TV off in front of all of our friends watching together, like shaking with anger at this. Threw the remote control at the wall, probably. Ended up turning it back on. And it was sort of trying to be funny, but also legitimately angry that Daniel Bryan's first WrestleMania appearance is 8 seconds long. But in hindsight, it does set up pretty much the rest of his career ever since then.
Exactly.
It kickstarts the Yes movement. So ended up working out for the best, although that is not at all what they intended, despite what their revisionist history might say.
Exactly.
And
I love Punk vs. Jericho, two of my favorites. I love it. Thought that should have been invented, but oh well. It is what it is. But I was completely on the edge of my seat for this match. It actually seemed like Taker had a chance to lose here after what we'd seen in Atlanta last year, being there live. Thought maybe this could actually be the end of the era. Maybe this could be it. It'll wrap this whole storyline up. He'll end at 19-1, or he'll end at 20-0 and be done for the rest of his career. But really on the edge of our seat for this one. I love it. And this is the first WrestleMania I can recall that we've covered that has a hashtag WrestleMania symbol in the corner. So totally embracing Twitter. Yeah.
No tout hashtag,
about
I guess.
5 years now, but they haven't really embraced it till then. Yeah. What'd you say?
I said no tout hashtag.
No. That'll come with Daniel Bryan later. He loves to still talk about talent. So.
Well, I will say, not only do CM Punk and Chris Jericho not main event, that WWE Championship match, neither that nor the World Heavyweight Championship match are mentioned in the opening video, which is kind of a knock to those guys and something that I know at least one of them held very personal going forward. And instead, the opening video package, it highlights Undertaker versus Triple H and John Cena as The Rock versus The Rock. Those are basically the co-main events. They're the only two matches the opening video package highlights. And I would say that's the only flaw to this show, in my opinion, is that this is really the first year where we see the part-timers really sort of take over the show and steal the buzz away from full-time guys like Punk and Jericho. And well, Jericho wasn't really full-time, but Punk and Bryan and Sheamus and other guys on the undercard. And it's a problem WrestleMania still has to this day with guys like Goldberg coming in and being the WWE champion in the year 2020. But this was really kind of the first year we saw that, and it sucks for those guys, but it doesn't take away from this match at all, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It's again, when you're highlighting those two matches, 3 out of 4 of those guys are part-timers, and one of them's soon to be a part-timer in about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's weird, but it is kind of the new normal at this point. But we get later on in the night, we get that insufferable fool Matt Stryker speaking with our special guest ref, Shawn Michaels, backstage, and he's asking for his thoughts on the match tonight. And he says, tonight is the end of an era. It's either the end of the streak or it's the end of the game. And which, no, it's not either one of those. But Shawn says that facing the Undertaker ended my career. Isn't it ironic that I hold the power of the palm of my hand to end an era again? So talks about that again. And then Justin Roberts is going to tell us we got a new attendance record at the Sun Life Stadium. So 78,363 people. So that's a lot of people. But then we get a wonderful WrestleMania return. That was a surprise at the time. And we got good old JR coming out for commentary.
Oh, yeah. We hear the Oklahoma fight song as Justin Roberts brings Justin Roberts brings Jim Ross, 2 JRs right there. Only one real JR here to the
only
commentary
one good
booth.
old JR. Yeah.
He joins the King and Michael Cole for this end of an era match. Even shakes Michael Cole's hand, and this truly added to the aura of this match by having JR come back to call it. And I'm sure it was Triple H and Undertaker's request probably to have JR out there on the mic and on the horn to in the booth to call this match. And it really wouldn't be right to have him not be there, especially when you're talking about end of an era stuff.
Right, and we'll get into that, as they continue to go on commentary. But it's really, really cool. And again, it made you think maybe this is it for Taker. We don't know.
Exactly. This
match is pretty much right in the middle of the card, which is weird. It's followed by Team Johnny versus Team Teddy, and the Punk versus. What was that?
That was me farting on that match.
Okay. The Punk versus Jericho match, then Cena and The Rock. So no video package before this match, though. It's just, I guess they're running long on time. But again, this whole announcement of JR coming out to the close of this match is about 51 minutes. So this takes up a chunk of time of the card. So maybe that's why they didn't show that video package from Raw and SmackDown. But anyway, Shawn Michaels gets his special entrance here as the referee, but and thank God he's refereeing here, but he's not wearing those tiny little hot pants that he used to wear back in the 90s.
He's not doing that, and he's not tucking his shirt in either.
No.
He's hanging low.
Yeah, and he's not getting pyro either, which was weird to me.
Yeah, man, I don't know if that was a glitch or what, but he does his posing and does his praying and doesn't get any pyro behind him, man. I guess just because he's a referee.
Yeah, but then JR has a great comment. He says that this is, without question, the biggest honor he's ever had to call a match. This is the end of an era, and we're all going to be a part of it, which is in a neat little nod to that. When Shawn gets in the ring, he kind of goes over the ropes and just kind of gives a salute to JR, which is cool just because of, just he's an Oak, man. He's an Oakland commentary when it comes to, just wrestling commentary. He's the greatest, in my opinion, so.
I mean, that's a huge thing for JR to say. I know, as an announcer, you're trying to hype things up, but I think there's some honesty in him saying that. There's some truth in him saying this. He loves both these guys, respects both of them. He sees this as a huge moment. This is The Undertaker's 20th WrestleMania match, obviously, as the streak is going to go to 19-0, but Triple H is right behind him, and you might not even realize that this is going to be his 16th WrestleMania match, man, which is just massive. Crazy that these guys have had such a legacy. Triple H is going to come out first, and he's got the Motorhead music, the game, and he comes out through this giant skull barbarian contraption. Looks like the skull crown that he's come out with before, sort of his symbol, and he walks to the ring with a purpose, dude. He really doesn't waste any time coming out there, and he looks in phenomenal shape, as he always does. He stops at ringside for a moment as we see a little bit of pyro going off across the roof of the stadium. Does the water spit, does the pose, all the usual stuff as he looks around at the arena and then looks up at the cell hanging above.
Yeah, and he's taking the opposite approach of Undertaker. Undertaker's cutting his hair to get a match, but Triple H has gone on the not shaving his chest hair for the first time. I know it's a little weird thing to notice, but you notice wrestlers, they don't have a lot of body hair, and he actually has some in this one, so it was funny. But and JR says, I talked with Triple H backstage, and he says, I've won titles, I've made money, but now I've only got one goal, and that's to end the streak here. So really like that. But then, of course, Taker's going to get the entrance second. The gong hits, the lights go out, lightning shoots across the Titantron, and there's a huge Undertaker symbol, that XT symbol on the Tron above the ring. It's actually like a whole entire square surrounding the cell that hangs up there. So smoke and fire are just billowing out of the stage as Undertaker comes out in a hooded cloak, and this hood is so big, like it's over his face, like you can barely just see like his nose and chin hanging out the bottom. But I really like this cloak, but it always reminds me of Super Shredder. He looks like the Super Shredder from Ninja Turtles 2. I've always thought that. I remember saying that. Chuck and I both said that when he came out when we watched this live.
I love that.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it like that's what it looks like to me. But it's got a lot of spikes on it and everything. But really like Super Shredder here to me.
That's a great way to describe it. It does look really cool, though. It's really unique. It's really not like anything we've seen from him before. He gets a ton of pyro as well. We get flames shooting up behind him on the stage, and then fireworks going off again around a circle on the top of the stadium here. Obviously, this is open air, outdoor stadium. The roof is off for this show, so I always love WrestleManias like that. And Undertaker gets in the ring. The music ends. We're seeing lots of 20-0 signs in the crowd, and the music stops, and we hear the thunder roll. And the Undertaker lifts the hood of his robe off, and all that hair is gone, brother. We see a shaved head and a faux hawk on top of the Undertaker's head, and this was shocking. Took JR's breath away, takes the crowd's breath away, takes Triple H's breath away. Everyone's just kind of like looking at it, questioning it. I mean, we've seen the Undertaker with short hair, but that was back in the Biker Taker days. We've never seen the dead man without those flowing black locks coming off his head. So this was a huge change of appearance for the Undertaker. What'd you think of it, man, when you saw it?
I was shocked, it just seemed like his hair was such a part of his gimmick, like it was just such a staple of his gimmick. There's some guys that can change their hair and it doesn't matter, or grow it out and that's their thing. Or like Jericho constantly cutting his hair or changing his facial hair. That's part of his gimmick. But like Taker's, I don't know, man, like he had the same long hair all the time. So it was a big shock, man. I remember being blown away and being kind of a little bit like, really? Like you're almost 50 and you got a mohawk too. Like the human side of me was like, I don't know about that, dude, as a look. But what about you?
Yeah, it's definitely not my favorite Undertaker look. No. I'll say that. And it is definitely jarring the first few times you see it. And honestly, I think it always looks weird to see Undertaker like that. I don't mind him trying different things, and I'm all about that, all about innovating and changing things up. But Yeah, I mean, I get it. The hair's getting thin. It's getting short. You got to try something different. But I just never could get used to dead man Undertaker with short hair. But it is what it is. That's what we got to deal with here. As both these guys stare at each other for a minute, and then they look up to the sky as fortune, fame, mirror vein, got insane, but the memory remains. Starts playing, and the Hell in a Cell gets entrance music, man. Not the normal entrance music that it gets. It gets a WrestleMania upgrade.
Yeah.
That's it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the second Hell in a Cell in WrestleMania history, and the only time it's ever happened ever anywhere in an open-air arena, which is pretty wild. I remember thinking all the weeks before the match, how are they going to have Hell in a Cell with no roof? But it's basically hidden in the giant video screen that's in the giant tent that's hanging, built up above the ring, and pretty technologically impressive that they were able to do it.
Yeah, and there's only going to be, one more at WrestleMania? So there's only been 3, right? And he's been in all 3 of them?
That is correct, sir.
So just thought about that. But, I was a little bit upset we didn't get the Taker slams the door shot like we always do. But I do like it's WrestleMania. We get this song. We get the Cell gets its own entrance. And I like that. And JR actually notes that these two competed in more Hell in a Cells than anybody else, like I said, or like you said earlier. But he says another little fact, which is Triple H has actually won more than anybody in history. So I don't have that number in front of me, but he says Triple H has won more Hell in a Cells than anybody else. So pretty cool fact there. Thanks, JR, for coming in and bringing the facts. But the bell rings, and they immediately just get the ball rolling here, just slugging away at each other in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, Taker backs Triple H into the corner with what JR calls his carcinogenic right hands. So his right hands are causing cancer to Triple H.
That's bad.
That's rough, man. I didn't know he had that power.
Well, apparently he does now. That year away, he learned some new things.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's insane. Maybe JR's just thinking about that because we talked about how much he chain smokes last week on our episode.
I love having JR back. He's so good on this night, man. It is he is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, Taker whips Triple H across the ring, and then Triple H fires back, and he's wailing away on. Taker's wailing away on Triple H in the corner. They kind of go back and forth. Taker throws Triple H back in the corner, punches him some more. Then he throws Triple H to the outside, and he starts punching him like right in the temple. And King incorrectly says on commentary that Triple H was so obsessed with having this match with Undertaker. Michael Cole's like, immediately corrects him. Is like, well, I think you meant to say that Taker has been obsessed with this match, which is why he's been cutting his hair. And King's like, that's exactly what I just said, Michael, you idiot. I'm like, no.
No, it's not.
When Michael Cole's the voice of reason, that's bad. So
I caught that too. And Jerry Lawler actually says he heard that Undertaker has been cutting his hair off every day until Triple H accepted this match. So he was just slicing a lock of hair off every day until Triple H accepted. Again, just bizarre. But at least they talked about it. At least they didn't just have him appear bald-headed out of nowhere.
Right.
They turned it into things. So even if it didn't quite make sense, it still works. But Undertaker, he really is owning the beginning of this match, man. He just hits some more shots, tosses Triple H to the floor, soup bones to the face, slams Triple H into the steps, headbutts Triple H, whips him into the cell, back body drops him onto the floor, and more headbutts, and hammers Triple H into the ground. And, this is not really a split crowd here tonight. They are pretty firmly on Undertaker's side as they chant for him, as he just continues to decimate Triple H in the early stages of this match.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that Michael Cole actually has a really neat fact here. He talks about, like, at Mania, Taker's been in casket matches, handicap matches, no DQ matches, all during the streak at WrestleMania. So he's adding a different, well, I guess he's already had a cell match, but adding one with a big opponent and as far as a special referee match, at WrestleMania. So that's pretty neat. He's got all these different types of matches, which I think I know that, but him pointing it out was like, oh, yeah, duh. We have covered a bunch of different stuff at Mania.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, he gets Triple H thrown into the cell again and just Taker's just beating him up. And then JR says it's the end of an era that we're never going to return to, which, again, we will.
Well, never say never in wrestling.
Yeah.
Michael Cole brings up that point that Triple H has never lost a match with Shawn Michaels as the referee. Again, Undertaker throws Triple H into the steps, rolls him into the ring, goes for an Irish whip, but Triple H reverses. He goes for a clothesline and hits Undertaker with it. And then Triple H hits that big flying knee and goes for the face buster on the knee on Undertaker. But Undertaker just no-sells it, man. He takes it and it just stands right back up and knocks Triple H right back down as he starts to work over the arm of Triple H.
Yeah, it's his opening to work the arm, and he goes up for old school, and he actually gets it this early in the match. And then Taker tosses.
JR says, no spring break for Undertaker as he stays in class.
That's like one of those lines from like the video game or something.
Yes.
Yes. That's amazing. Oh,
The Undertaker is really doing well in this contest.
Yeah, we should call our matches like that. We'll do a watch along. We'll call it with the SmackDown vs. Raw commentary. It'd be hilarious. But Taker tosses Triple H to outside again, and at this point, in my opinion, it's been all Taker, man. Like Triple H had some hope spots, but Taker's been dominating this match, and he grabs the steps and nails Triple H in the face with him. He grabs the big bottom half and then puts it in the ring. Triple H rolls back in there. Taker hits some apron offense, the apron leg drop. Miami's going nuts, and then Shawn's checking on Triple H, and Taker gets back in the ring. But Triple H is going to counter really fast. Need a quick DDT out of nowhere.
I love to grab the bottom half myself. That's what I always go for. Did your video freeze there, Travis? Okay. Triple H slams Undertaker's head into the steps over and over and over again. And then he goes for a pedigree onto the steps, but Undertaker backdrops him off of the steps and onto the mat here. Punches Triple H in the head, slams Triple H's head into the steps. Taker goes right into the ropes, and Triple H gets a devastating spine buster onto the steel steps, man. Brutal. But Undertaker doesn't faze him because Triple H walks right back over to him, and Undertaker traps him in Hell's Gate right there. Undertaker's laying on the steps and locks Triple H in Hell's Gate. Really cool moment. But Triple H is going to counter that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to pick him up and powerbomb him out of it, the Hell's Gate position, which we have not seen up to this point anybody do that. So that's a big give, as far as Taker's offense, to give that to Triple H. So he covers Taker for 2, and after a replay of that, JR says, I have never seen anyone ever. And I think he just forgot to say what he was going to say. He's like, I've never seen anyone
Took his breath away.
ever. He's just never seen anyone ever.
Never.
He's never seen anyone.
He's blind.
We
just
find
admitted
out that JR is blind ring announcer or commentator. That's pretty good for calling matches he can't see.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Triple H heads outside after that really cool sequence right there, and he gets a pair of steel chairs. He hits one to the gut and then another to the back of the Undertaker, and I noticed Triple H's eye has been busted open hard way a little bit, and he sets up the steel stairs in the corner, kind of standing up, and Triple H slams Undertaker's head into the stairs and then decides he's done with those stairs and tosses them out of the ring. Didn't really do anything that cool with him after that, but he's done with him here. And then he just hits chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot to the back of the Undertaker here. And this is the first time we really see Shawn Michaels actually get involved in the match here as he starts begging Triple H to stop. I guess at one point earlier in the match, I guess I forgot to mention it, but at one point, Shawn kind of Undertaker kind of pushed Shawn away out of the way as he was checking on Triple H. And that was the first time Shawn played any role. But he's been relatively quiet into this until he just starts begging Triple H to stop hitting Undertaker with the chair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Triple H shoves Shawn away at this point, and he just nails Taker like I think 9 more times in the back. And then Shawn finally pushes him away, and then Triple H comes back and hits one more. And again, Shawn's interjecting again. He gets shoved away again by Triple H, and Triple H is just absolutely destroying Taker. And then Shawn grabs it and just throws the chair away. And Triple H looks at him and says, "If you want it done, you end it." And Shawn says, "You know he's not going to quit. Cover him." So he's trying to get, Triple H is trying to get Shawn to end the match so Taker can, have his loss there. And Shawn's like, "No, like just cover him and pin him already." He's showing that. We talked about it last year. Or for last year WrestleMania, he's showing that emotion. He has an emotional side where he gets, lets the emotions get the best of him, and we'll see that way more in this match.
Shawn decides he's going to try to talk some reason to the Undertaker here. He tries to beg Undertaker to just quit, saying, "It's just one match. It's just one match." And then Triple H hits some more chair shots, says, "End it or I will." And Shawn talks to Undertaker again, and Undertaker actually, he speaks up, and he tells Shawn, "Don't stop it. Do not stop it." As he's trying to get back up to his feet, Triple H yells at him to stay down, which we heard last year, and then we heard Undertaker telling it to Shawn the year before that.
Mm-hmm.
And Taker, again, is just begging Shawn to not stop things here as Triple H continues to just level him with the chair shot into the ribs and then into the back again as we start seeing bruises and welts start to build up on Taker's back.
Yeah, it's bad, man. And then Shawn backs up Triple H in the corner, and Triple H goes outside as Shawn goes to check on Taker. And again, Triple H says, "End it or I will." And he reaches down and grabs a sledgehammer. So Triple H and Shawn are arguing in the corner, and Triple H says, "Like, you can show compassion. I'm not. I'm ending this one way or another." So he's kind of had enough, and he's like, "I'm going to end Taker." So Shawn tells Taker, "Let me ring the bell. Just let me ring the bell." And Taker's like, "No, no, no." And then Triple H nails Taker in the jaw with a sledgehammer shot and only gets a 2 count. So, yeah.
Undertaker's not going to stop fighting here.
Nope.
A sledgehammer, not as devastating as a wrestling maneuver here. That's the WWE logic.
Yeah.
But it does get a huge crowd reaction as Undertaker kicks out the sledgehammer. And then Triple H prepares to literally murder Undertaker with the sledgehammer as Undertaker's on the ground and Triple H pulls the sledgehammer behind his head and is just about to crush Undertaker's skull with it.
Well, it's skull-crushing finale.
Quite literally.
There's even brains on the mat.
Thank the good Lord above that Shawn Michaels pulls a sledgehammer away and tosses it out of the ring as Triple H keeps yelling at him to end it. And Shawn, again, he's wrenching up the emotion. He starts to put his hand up like he's going to call for the bell. Mm-hmm. He has second thoughts. He goes to check on Undertaker again. He stands up and he looks towards the timekeeper. Triple H keeps yelling at him. Shawn checks on Taker one last time and kneels down beneath or beside him. And Undertaker locks in Hell's Gate on Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. It's great, man. He locks Shawn in it, and then
he's going to stop Shawn Michaels for calling for the bell. Exactly. He's going to do whatever he can.
Yep. He's like, "You're not going to end this for me. I'm going to, I'll put you out for a little while to prolong this match, So Triple H comes in with another sledgehammer shot to Taker to break up the Hell's Gate. And then he goes and checks on Shawn and then goes for another sledgehammer shot. But Taker kicks him in the Death Valley blow or in the Death Valley area and then locks in Hell's Gate on Triple H. And then at this point we get a replay from last year where Triple H is struggling to grab the sledgehammer as he's in the Hell's Gate. Taker's cinching it harder. Triple H grasps for the sledgehammer again. He looks to pass out, but of course Shawn's down in the corner. So Charles Robinson, the referee for Shawn and him, right? It was it was the last match. Shawn, wasn't he the referee for that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he was, yeah. He runs down, unlocks the cell door, and the crowd is just boo. They don't want to see this end right now, but he slides in, and as he slides in, Taker hits a choke slam on Triple H and then counts. Charles Robinson counts the pinfall, and it's 1, 2, and Miami just comes unglued right there. They thought that could have been the end.
It's a great crowd. They're hooked in from the beginning, man. Every moment. Yeah. There's no dead parts in this match. They are fully into this Undertaker is frustrated that Triple H kicked out, so he gives Charles Robinson a sloppy choke slam. Man, Charles Robinson didn't quite get up for it here, and he stumbles down oddly. And then Undertaker, he's struggling to get back up to his feet. Triple H struggling to do the same thing. Undertaker goes for a tombstone, but Triple H slides out from behind him. He pushes Undertaker towards Shawn Michaels, who's standing back up on his feet now, and he hits sweet chin music on The Undertaker. The Undertaker stumbles backwards into a pedigree from Triple H, and Shawn goes to count, and it only gets 2, and probably the greatest near fall in WrestleMania history, maybe in professional wrestling history here, as the entire crowd loses their minds. Everyone watching at home jumps out of their seat. Yeah. How did that not end things? Oh my gosh, that was perfect.
It was amazing. You know, they've had the greatest near fall in wrestling history in all their subsequent matches, it seems like. All 4
right.
of these have had it, you know? But this one really is it, man. Like, I just remember coming off the couch, just thought that was it, couldn't believe he kicked out, and Shawn sells it better than any of us could. He sinks down in the corner, holding his head in his hands, just like, oh my goodness, what's it going to take to put this guy down? He cannot believe it. And neither could we. It was insane.
Beautifully, perfectly well done here. Taker is on his back. Triple H goes for the sledgehammer again. Shawn stops him from using it again. And Triple H gets frustrated with Shawn now and throws him to the outside. And then Undertaker sits up from that devastation, and Triple H actually falls to the ground out of shock at this, and Undertaker lights up, dude. He's got his special meter rolling. He hits all the moves of doom, just on fire. This burst of energy, big boot, punching Triple H. Triple H bumping like crazy, bumping and feeding for Taker. Big splash, snake eyes, vintage Undertaker, leg drop. Undertaker picks Triple H for the tombstone, nails it, classic cover, Shawn counts, and Triple H kicks out. And they kind of redo that moment from Taker and Shawn, and Undertaker just rolls over with his head on Triple H's body, out of shock, and he's so shocked, drool starts pouring out of his mouth, and he drools over Triple H this time.
He does. He does, man. And again, Shawn sinks in the corner. He's like an emotional train wreck at this point. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what he wants to happen. He wants it to end. Miami is chanting and cheering louder than they have before. Taker's headbutting Triple H, like both laying on their backs. He's trading blows on their knees. We get the yeah boo spot kind of on their knees. They make their way up to their feet, slugging away. Taker goes for a tombstone. Triple H slips out of it, hits another pedigree. Shawn slaps down to the mat and counts 1, 2, and Taker kicks out again.
Woo!
Again.
All the kickouts from all the finishers here. And JR's talking about how Shawn Michaels is totally conflicted here. This Miami crowd is absolutely on fire. Again, we see all the bruises and welts and bumps on The Undertaker's back from all the chair shots as he gets up. And Triple H, he's still on the ground. He starts crawling towards the sledgehammer. And Undertaker grabs a chair. And then Undertaker stands on the hammer and blocks Triple H from using it. And he nails Triple H in the side with a chair. He gives him a shot across the back into the head of Triple H. Another gut shot, another back shot. And Shawn Michaels is just wincing and unable to look at the pain being inflicted on his best friend. And Taker hits more and more brutal shots. And now Shawn Michaels is begging Undertaker to stop things.
Yeah, it's great, man. He just can't even watch, and Triple H struggles to get up, and Taker nails him again and again and again. Like you said, Shawn pushes Taker back, and Taker throws the chair out, and he covers Triple H, but he kicks out, and Shawn just literally says, both of you, come on. Like, he's so emotional. Just please, just quit giving and giving because you guys are giving too much, you know? So Triple H gets the hammer again, and he's struggling to get up in the turnbuckle, and Taker now tells him to stay down. And Triple H comes at Taker, but Taker grabs the hammer. He's got more power at this point. He just kind of shakes his head like in disappointment looking at Triple H, and he grabs the hammer. And then Triple H shoves Taker and he backs into the corner. And then Triple H, kind of mirroring the act of defiance that Shawn gave him in WrestleMania 26, was it, with the throat slash? Triple H looks at Taker and just gives him a crotch chop. And Taker does not take too kindly to that.
No, Triple H kind of knows he's met his match, man, but he's going to go out defiant as ever. And he basically just walks into the line of fire and unprotected, just takes a sledgehammer shot to the head here. And Shawn just kind of turns his back to things. He won't watch it. He won't watch his brother go down. Undertaker says it's time to finish the business and pulls the straps down as Hunter crawls up Undertaker's body, again mirroring Shawn Michaels. And Triple H is on his knees. Undertaker gives him the throat slash, hoists him up on his shoulder, and delivers the tombstone. Folds the arms over, covers him. Shawn Michaels counts to 3, and the Undertaker goes to the unprecedented 20-0 at WrestleMania.
God, we know what that means. Yes, we do. Signifying the sign of the sinister. And then pour it. Shawn's gonna count. The tombstone, the count, and the 3. God, what a war. Out of the middle of this match. The Undertaker! I'll tell you, in 4 decades of sitting at ringside, I can honestly say I have never, ever witnessed anything like what we have just seen. The Undertaker is 20-0 at WrestleMania.
It's crazy, man. 30 minutes long, man. It's just insane. 20-0. No one will ever have that again, man. It never will happen.
No chance.
Both men are lifeless in the ring. Shawn is just looking at him. He's just kind of standing over him, looking at him. And JR goes on commentary, says, in 40 years, I've never seen anything like that. And, you know, Taker's 20-0, and he's struggling to get up as his music's playing, and Shawn is just kneeling over Triple H, and then he kind of goes over to Taker. And again, we're just kind of, I remember just sitting in Gene's living room, just soaking it in. Like, man, that was an emotionally exhausting match. It was a great finale to this 4-part story that had been told over the last 4 years of WrestleMania. 5 parts if you count WrestleMania X7, you know, with him and Triple H. But man, it was just, what do you remember about being in the living room that time at your house?
Man, it was just spectacular. We loved this match. It was took our breath away. So well done, so theatrical here. Just beautiful storytelling, beautiful performances from all these guys. It's why you love pro wrestling here, this sort of match here. And the storytelling doesn't end with the end of the match here. As Shawn stands up, he offers his hand to Undertaker, to the man who retired him, to his rival throughout all of this. Now that the match is over, after he witnessed all this brutality, he actually offers his hand and pulls Undertaker up, and they embrace. Yeah. And when have we ever seen the Undertaker hug somebody after a match? But they actually do here. As Shawn raises his hand, Triple H is just out cold, selling on the mat. And Taker gets to do what he did not get to do last year, as he hits the Shakespeare pose. An enormous fireworks display goes off at the top of the stadium, and we see that incredible visual of 20-0, the graphic on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, him and Shawn hugging was a callback to, you know, WrestleMania 26 when they hugged. We talked about it was almost like they broke character, and Taker hugged him, you know, at the end of that, and it was like, which again made you think here, man, he's only done that one time at the end of like a WrestleMania match, so like this could be the end. And JR even wonders on commentary, he's like, you know, we'll never see Shawn compete again because of Taker, but will we ever see Taker or Triple H compete again? This could be it, you know. And yeah, that 20-0 flashes up. It's awesome. And Taker's struggling and leaning on top rope. Triple H is still lying like he's dead in the middle of the ring. And Taker's music actually ends. It goes off. And he approaches Triple H, and he and Shawn actually lift Triple H from the canvas and kind of put his arms over their shoulders and like around their necks, and they help him out of the ring. So doesn't leave on a medical cart or anything, but Taker's music then kicks back in, and JR says that, ladies and gentlemen, is respect. And I just love, again, he adds so much to it. If it had been Matt Stryker saying it, would have been stupid, but it's JR.
So absurd.
Yeah.
And JR saying, we may have just seen, this is the end. We may have seen the last matches of Triple H and perhaps maybe The Undertaker here. He's planting that seed, questioning that. Everyone watching at home is thinking of that, man. We just hit 20-0. It's called the end of an era. They've used that name in here. They didn't call it a retirement match, but they're saying end of an era, end of an era, end of an era. This is it. This is the end of The Undertaker, man. It's crazy after all these years. And what a match. What a story to go out on. And this scene that they're going to go out on, it just further adds to that here. As the three of these guys, they walk up together, arms around each other to the top of the stage, never breaking that. And in a moment, unlike any we've ever seen with The Undertaker, they all turn around together. Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, and they sort of have a curtain call right here. They take in the adulation of the crowd, and they share a hug together as they get this standing ovation and then limp out of the arena in an image that has truly become iconic over the past 8 years.
Yeah, and as we learned in the Last Ride docuseries, that was unplanned, and JR says on commentary here, that's a moment that will live in infamy in WWE, which it's so funny how, like, that wasn't in his notes. He didn't know that, like, but it did live in infamy, and or rather, not infamy, it was famous, but Triple H actually took it upon himself to frame a picture with all three of them. Well, I think he has does he have a part of the mat maybe, and like Shawn's ref shirt and Taker glove or something like that? Something like that.
Yeah, I think all three of them have a little, something in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Taker has it like in his office or at his, where was it at? Was it at his? I think it was in his office. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in his house. Yeah. Yep.
And they all have that. It's just, it really is such a moment to commemorate. It was great, man. Really, really good stuff.
In a lot of ways, to me, Travis, this felt like the most Triple H match of all time. Sure. Sort of, you can see a lot of the seeds of what we see in NXT main event style matches in this match, in the way that the storytelling overshadows the action in the match and a lot of the moves in the match. Like, you could see a lot of Ciampa and Gargano's stuff in this match here, the length of it, the kicking out of finishers, the drama, the way that it all plays out. And sometimes I think that gets really old, especially when you haven't earned it. But for these three guys right here, for the story that they told over the past 4 years, they totally earned it, and it was just pitch perfect for me. And I don't know, what about you?
Yeah, I really, really, really like this match a whole lot, man. And it has the pressure of trying to wrap up, the 4 WrestleManias. Plus, I like to add Royal Rumble 2007 in that, just all the way, just kind of wrap all that up and just all their history, And I think, and this might be controversial though, but I think if you put, like, objectively, I think I like WrestleMania 27 better, and maybe because we were there. But I think with that match, and here's my argument. With that match, we didn't know what to expect. We had seen classics at 25 and 26, so we didn't know what to expect going into 27. And they gave us something different. They gave us a street fight. They gave us, a bunch of just finishers and signature moves and brutality. This one, you have your expectations like, okay, I know we're going to get something similar to that, but we're going to be inside Hell in a Cell. Well, they literally didn't use the cell for anything offensively except throwing each other into it. So
True.
I love the storytelling aspect of it being there because it's so iconic for these two characters. But look at it, and that's subjectively, this is a phenomenal match, and I really do like it. But I think I love 27 more. This one is, if 27 is 5 stars, this one is 4.9 for me. Like, it's not that much below it. It's not. And like, I love the way it wraps up everything, but I think just because we kind of had the bar set at a certain level already, and then again, just being objective here, this could have not been a Hell in a Cell, and it wouldn't have changed anything in the match at all. At all. Honestly, they would have just could have been a street fight. They would still could have used the sledgehammer, still could have used the chairs, still could have used the steps, all that. Now, does it give it more drama being in the cell and more story with all three guys? Absolutely. But again, I know it might be controversial. This one's supposed to be the end all be all of these two matches with Triple H, but I think in a bubble, I prefer, if you said you get to watch one of these two over and over again, I'll probably pick 27. That may be controversial.
Yeah. I do agree with you that I wish they were able to find a way to use the cell more and make that factor into things more. And I think I shared the same opinion with you until 2 nights ago when I watched this here in 2020. And for me, I think it's the emotion of us doing this podcast for 3 years and seeing all of this story play out. I think it's watching all the promos and the storytelling and noticing things I didn't notice 8 or 9 years ago. I think it's hearing Undertaker talk about it in The Last Ride and just seeing where things went from here. To me, I honestly, out of the 4 matches, I put this one number 2 in my current opinion. I put WrestleMania 25 first, but I put this one right beneath it, man. And it's the storytelling. It's the I got a little emotional when I was watching it, man. It kind of choked me up seeing it all. And some people may laugh at that, some people may scoff at that. A lot of people are going to disagree with this, but that's what it got to me, man. I thought it was beautiful, and it's just so impressive, man. Like, and this is why pro wrestling is so great. This is why we love pro wrestling. Is that what movie series on the 4th movie is able to stick the landing and be on the same level as the original? And what movie series are all 4 sequels just as good as the original one, or all 3 sequels? There's nothing. There's no movie series where you can point to, maybe, I'm sure there's some. I'm sure some people can say something, but most of the time, generally, when you get to the 4th sequel, the 4th movie in a series, diminishing returns. And yet they're able to spread this story out. They didn't know in 2009 that it was going to be this 4-year story. No. And yet they keep playing into it and keep adding to the story and keep making it into something special. And that degree of difficulty, again, I think that's helps elevate this match, in my opinion, that they're able to do that so freaking well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly, man. And I'll say this, man, like watching it the other night, I enjoyed it more in 2020 than I did in 2012. I remember really digging it that night. I remember being like soaking it in. But I think part of me was still frustrated that Punk and Jericho weren't the main event, and like this match like overshadowed them. And I felt like Punk was getting slighted, and I felt like Rock and Cena was overshadowing Punk and Jericho, 2 guys I thought should have main evented. But so I think taking myself out of that emotion and just watching it here, and again, all the love we had for Taker and everything he's done now by going through his the memories of his matches and with the fine-tooth comb. Like, I love this match so much more now than I did back in 2012. But still, I will say that, like I said, if this is 4.9, 27 to me is 5. It's just. But again, I love them, but they're both great, and I would love to watch all 4 of these back to back one day, and maybe do that. I have to have my family gone or something so I can have 16 hours to watch that. But I'm gonna have to do that. But
I'm surprised they never did a DVD just with like that and all the storylines and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that would have made a great DVD or Blu-ray set back in the day, but. We'll probably never get that now that physical media is dying out. But, at least we're getting The Last Ride on DVD. That's cool.
Absolutely.
But obviously, the end of this set up a lot of rumors and speculation about the future of The Undertaker and Triple H, of course, as well. 20-0 seemed like that perfect mark for The Undertaker to finish up at. But, you've also got WrestleMania 30 right around the corner, and that's going to be a huge WrestleMania. How could you have WrestleMania 30 without The Undertaker? So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens with him. He certainly looked older, more beat up here than he ever had before. But obviously, folks, we're not done with this podcast yet. And we're not even done with Shawn Michaels and Triple H yet. As that Saudi Arabia money becomes a little too tempting for all these guys. But we'll talk about that in a future episode. We'll talk about what happens next with The Undertaker next week as we keep rolling onto the last ride and keep this WrestleMania series going on in this era of The Last Outlaw to talk about CM Punk and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 29. Sadly, we'll talk about the death of Paul Bearer and how that plays into things. Looking forward to revisiting that match, though. Haven't seen it in a long time, so we'll see how that holds up.
Love it.
Of course, we want to hear your opinions on this matchup here, so hit us up at Talking Taker, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and we will read your comments and talk about them on the show. I know some of you out there, some of you listeners, I know JV from the Bottom Line Cast, pretty sure Watching Along Tommy, I'm pretty sure all you guys went to WrestleMania 28, so I need to hear some stories from you guys. You didn't respond yet on Twitter, but we'll reach you next week if you were at the show.
Oh, JV, I think you had some emergency appendectomy the other day or something like that, man. So prayers and thoughts to you, buddy. I think you were in the hospital a very quick turnaround, so hopefully you can rise from the ashes like a dead man did.
That's no excuse. He still needs to get back to me on Twitter. I don't care. Come on, man. The Emperor Triple H tore his quad and finished the match. You can do your podcast.
Exactly.
Nah, much love, JV. Evan John 97 said a lot of people say this should have been Undertaker's last match. To be honest, I'm glad we had 8 more years with him, but I would have preferred the streak remain intact. And Princeton John, who's got a special package coming out your way very soon, my friend, from us here at Talking Taker, said, man, after that sweet chin music and then a pedigree on Taker, I thought it was legit over. We all did, buddy. Such a cool moment when they hug. For someone who grew up watching all these guys, very emotional. Great match, and Undertaker on a mohawk looks great. So Princeton John dug the mohawk. I don't know about that. But, of course, if you want to hear more about this match, don't forget, now that we've done all 4 of these matches, go listen to our bonus episode with Saint Ridley Santos as me and him break it all down from a literary standpoint. This is a guy who has taught about this series of matches in a college class. So you're going to hear analysis on this like you've never heard before. If you can't get enough, it's 2 more hours of talking about these 4 matches, but it's a very different perspective. It's very fun. And a couple other notes, man. We've seen a little bit of The Undertaker in the news recently, Travis. He was on a video game commercial.
Yeah, that was weird.
With his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, kind of funny. That one set the internet abuzz. I read on one of those news sites, News with a Z, Wrestling News.
Yeah.
He did an interview and said Vince was a little bit pissed off about the ending of The Last Ride series.
I watched the Barstool Sports interview with him.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you tell us about it. You watched it. I just read about it.
Yeah, I actually watched it. So 2 guys, just like you and me, probably younger than us, actually, interviewing him. Great. Good job, guys. And pat on the back for you, because that's a dream come true to interview The Undertaker. But anyway, they asked him about the Sting match. Did that ever come up? He said, man, I talked to Sting. I knew him from WCW. I didn't talk to him again until he came to WWE. So he said, and I guess it had guys lined up for me, and it never really came to be me and him. He's like, I know the fans really wanted it more, but I would have wanted it in the 90s, basically. But anyway, so kind of put that to bed, that there was no heat between them or anything. It just wasn't really right place, right time, I guess, once Sting finally came. So, but yeah, he talks about how at the end of the Last Ride docuseries, he had to go back and reshoot the ending, and Vince McMahon wasn't happy with the way it ended, where he was pretty definitively saying, I'm done, this is it, this is all. Vince made him go back and say, never say never, in case of emergency, break glass. So that was Vince's call, which I think is kind of funny, to have had him not even let Taker have complete control of his own docuseries and his own ending.
If it does happen, we'll be around to talk about it. And we may be even sharing a glass of Undertaker wine as we talk about that episode together.
I saw that.
This is real life, folks. The WWE is issuing a wine collection now. We have the Ultimate Warrior Zinfandel, which sounds delicious, and then the Undertaker Cabernet Sauvignon. So a little pricey, $100 for 2 bottles of wine, but they are, it's got a wax casking there, dipped in wax to seal it up. It's a limited edition. If any of you are feeling friendly out there and want to donate to the cause, just hit the direct messages, slide into those DMs. But Randy Turco, man, he put it perfectly here. He said these wines are as big of a leap for the WWE license as the old WWF cologne. If you'll remember that back in the days.
Oh, yeah.
And then said, maybe it's the same stuff.
Could be.
Perfect, Randy. I love that.
Yes. Beautiful.
But, I'll try it. I'll try it if anyone's willing to offer that to us. I don't know if I could spend it. I'm more of a $3 chuck guy. But $100 for Undertaker wine, I'm open to it.
I don't even drink wine, but I might be willing to try some Undertaker wine.
Serve it for communion.
Yeah. My wife enjoys it, but I don't enjoy it. So. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, man. Anything else on the old socials? You can find us at at Talking Taker. Sorry, you can't find us on Tout. It's the one we're not on. So.
Now, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon Podcast.
Are we on the Peacock?
We are not on the Peacock app yet.
WWE is.
Never say never.
That's right, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were there in Miami, if you're the home of The Rock, his homecoming where he defeated John Cena in the main event, let us know. You guys were a great crowd. We'd love to hear from you, especially guys that we're connected to here on the podcast. But listen, we want to hear your firsthand accounts of this. I can't imagine the emotional roller coaster you were taking on being in the arena that night. If I was there in the arena, I bet I would have loved. I bet that would take this over 27 for me. But love it. Can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts on it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe out there. And we will see you next year on this podcast. But next week we'll be back with another year of podcasts, or another WrestleMania, and most importantly, take her easy.
From 78,363. And a moment that will live in infamy in WWE